Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking, and I have been waiting for this one. This week, I'm looking at Five Nights at Freddy's 3, the third and believed at the time to be final game in the Five Nights series. After the unexpected success of the first and continued and furthered success of the second, all eyes were on Scott Cawthon as everyone was eagerly anticipating the third chapter, and he knew it. He dragged fans along with cryptic teasers on his website like Five Nights at Freddy's 30 years later, only one, and I remain. This game was also given much more time to cook than FNaF 2, releasing on March 2nd, 2015. And the excitement for this game was so massive that Markiplier was able to say,
"This might be the most hyped game in the history of gaming."
And no one argued.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
But did it live up to the hype, or was Scott Cawthon skewered inside his own hype machine? Find out as we give it everything we've got! The game begins just like every other game so far. A title screen with a murder bot that drank too much coffee and is having a real hard time keeping it together. But, unlike the other games, you don't work at a pizzeria. You work at a horror attraction created to capitalize on the child-murdering legacy of the long-closed Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a place called Fazbear's Fright, a name Scott Cawthon liked so much that he brought it back for his Fred Bumps books. Night 1 opens with you being called by a surfer bro,
Hey, glad you came back for another night.
and he explains that you will not only be watching the attraction when it's closed, you will also be acting as the security guard when it's open.
It'll make it feel really authentic, I think.
And it's your job to make sure no one messes with anything. He then mentions that the building you are in is the worst building to ever building. Think of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, but somehow more of a fire hazard. The air vents, camera system, and audio system can all shut off at any time, and it's up to you to reset them at your maintenance panel.
In trying to make the place feel vintage, we may have overdone it a bit.
There's also no actual threat against you on Night 1. Night 1 solely exists to get you accustomed to the new mechanics, because there's actually new mechanics this time! There are no doors, no mask, and no flashlight. Everything you do is in the cameras. You have to watch them carefully and switch between the floor view and the vent cams. You can also play everyone's favorite audio cue in any room you choose.
Hello?
And if any of your systems go offline, you have to slide over to your maintenance panel and reset them, which takes time. And yes, if you're rushing, you will definitely click on the wrong thing to reset, or God forbid, click on reset all and be stuck on that panel for an eternity. This is the main reason this is my favorite of the original Five Nights games. Not only does it look different with all of the shades of yellows and greens, it feels different thanks to the actual new gameplay features that require you to almost memorize the map layout and pay close attention to every camera. And you knew it was only a matter of time before a psychotic furry, also known as the average furry, tried to kill you, but who is it? Who is the one? Who is the one that remains? Who is the one who knocks? The arcade fanatic that somehow digivolved from a chicken to a watermelon? Phantom Chica!
He's just standing there, menacingly.
Phantom Foxy! The first character you can actually see move since Foxy in the first game as he swagger walks in front of your office trying to find his saxophone. Phantom Freddy! The disconnected head that just screams radio noises at you that will destroy your ears and audio systems for a while until they get bored and just dip. Phantom Mangle! The kid out for revenge after you stole his voice box, and honestly, wouldn't you be upset if someone stole your voice and used it to taunt people in an amusement park attraction? Phantom Balloon Boy! The being that just screams in your face for a solid 17 seconds, and remember when I said you better be ready to be closer to her than you ever wanted to? Well, this is only the beginning of what I meant. Phantom Puppet! And your obsessive stalker constantly toying with and hunting you each and every night, which is really not the way to go when trying to salvage a relationship. Springtrap! As you may have been able to figure out, Springtrap is the only real animatronic in the game. All of the others are side effects of the horror setting and low oxygen mixing together to create hallucinations. Springtrap's the only one that can actually kill you, even though his jump scare is f***ing weak. I love how you have no defense against him when he gets close to you, so you have to spend the night trying to lure him away from you with audio cues. And I like how he acts like a hunter, trying to confuse you or catch you off guard by going into a vent. It's almost like he's a killer with experience. Just playing through the Five Nights will reward you with this screen, because that's what FNaF needed, multiple endings. You also unlock Nightmare Mode, which is just Night 6, and an Extras tab, but those aren't important right now. In order to get the other ending, you have to pay close attention to the mini-games that that you play at the end of each night. And I'm going to run through these as quickly as I can, and I just want you to imagine trying to figure out all of this stuff when the game was new and no one had figured it out yet. In the first minigame, you'll see these two hints that correspond with a Balloon Boy poster you have to press twice, and a certain order you have to press certain buttons on a certain arcade machine on a certain camera. You have to glitch out of the Balloon Boy minigame to unlock balloon paths, then glitch out of the Mangle minigame and use the balloon paths to unlock cake, then go back into the Balloon Boy minigame and give cake to a kid. In the second minigame, you see the 4 dark cupcakes of destruction, which correspond with 4 cupcakes scattered throughout the map that you have to click on to get access to a Chica minigame where you also have to glitch out and give cake to a kid. In the third minigame, you see a series of numbers that you have to type into the wall to access a Golden Freddy minigame where you also give cake to a kid. In the fourth minigame, you see a Shadowy Bonnie, which corresponds with a Shadow Bonnie statue on your desk that accesses a Shadow Bonnie minigame where you give a mouse a cookie. Then, after all that, you have to click on a barely visible poster of the puppet to unlock the final minigame where you play as the puppet, give cake to the final kid, then watch as they disappear and all their balloons fly away. I know the Zero Escape games were confusing, but at least there was an established pattern of confusion. This is just random crap stringed together. But for all the crap I give it, it was still fun piecing all this together and setting the souls of the kids free, even though the finality of the end has been severely diminished since it wasn't the end of a goddamn thing. Those of you numerates out there may have noticed that I've only explained 4 of the post-night minigames, but there's 5 nights. That's because that night deserves a whole different explanation. Each one of the minigames ends with the purple guy dismantling the animatronic you're controlling until you eventually play as the spirit of a child and confront the purple guy in the back room with the other spirits and scare him into putting on the Golden Bonnie suit, which ends up impaling him several times and traps him inside. This is further explained in the phone calls because Phone Dude finds old training tapes and plays them for you.
First of all, we found some vintage audio training cassettes. Dude, these are like prehistoric.
The tapes explain spring lock suits, which could be worn by a person or controlled by an endoskeleton. However, these spring locks were extremely sensitive to moisture, and since the spring Bonnie suit is being kept in a dank room with a leaky roof on a rainy day, the spring locks go off and trap Purple Guy in the suit forever. That is the yellow suit mentioned in the second game, and Purple Guy is still in the suit during the game, as proven by these images. After you do all that, or before, it's your life, you can make your own decisions, you can finish Nightmare Mode, which ends with Fazbear's Fright burning to the ground, but like the trailer says, he always comes back. Overall, Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was a great conclusion, and as much as I've laughed at it for supposedly being the end, but actually being far from it, I'm glad it wasn't. Yes, the gameplay and setting was new and fresh, and the side minigames seemed to answer the questions and conclude the story, but this is a horror series, and this game isn't scary. The setting and gameplay generates a constant feeling of tension, yes, but the payoff isn't scary, so it doesn't live up to its full potential. It may be my favorite game in the original series, but I recognize its faults. 7 out of 10. From this point on, each following game would be built upon rectifying the biggest flaw from the previous game. So next time, we see what happens when the nightmares follow you home. I hope to see you there.